Hi everyone, welcome to the Miss Sayé Show. And as I promised, I have Richard from Richard Anthony Photography with us from Los Angeles, California. Welcome to the show today, Richard.
Thank you. Thanks for having me, Saye. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much. You're one of my favorite photographers, especially in Los Angeles when there's huge competition. Your personality, your wonderful work sets you apart, certainly for me at least. Could you please share with us a little bit, at what point of your life you knew that you want to pursue photography as a profession?
Well, my father is a photographer, so growing up as a young kid, I was always around it. It was in my face constantly. He was always shooting my sister and myself, and then him and we used to do a lot of hiking together and just traveling. And he was always showing me how to use a camera, teaching me how to, my way around a camera. And I think it was just in my blood. It just happened. And then when I moved out to LA 13 years ago, he gave me a camera and just told me, hey, you never know, you might want to pursue something with this. And the rest is history. I took that camera and just started shooting a few things here and there, and it just grew. So
Wonderful. Thanks for sharing that with us.
yeah.
I know you do lots of wonderful wedding photographies. I have seen
Mm-hmm.
it, and it's just like so much feelings and emotions comes out of that photos that you capture. And I have worked with you myself, so I have a first-hand experience.
Thank you. Yeah.
Thank you. How do you consider yourself, what type of photographer? Do you only do weddings, or do you do nature? Tell us a little bit about that.
I just love to have a camera in my hand. Obviously, weddings and events, they pay the bills. I love the actual day of a wedding, what it symbolizes, just the love between two people. I love to be able the one to capture that and tell a story. But I feel like my style is, even in weddings, is very photojournalistic. I love to kind of capture those candid moments and, just seeing the love between those two people. But it's actually carried over a lot into, the events and everything that's going right now. Obviously, there's not a lot of weddings and events to shoot right now. So I've actually been documenting a lot of the protests here in Los Angeles. I've been going to one every other day, downtown Los Angeles, out here in Santa Monica, where I live, Hollywood, and just documenting everything that's going on right now in our lives, and everything that's going on with George Floyd and the rest of the victims, with the police brutality and stuff like that. So, just documenting that really just gets me going, and it just, being able to share some of those photos, to me, it's a part of history. So if I can chip in any way possible, it makes me feel good.
Absolutely, which brings me to my other question. What have you been doing during this COVID and this, I would like to call it this important time?
Yeah,
Really
absolutely.
important time, I wanted to say the most positive way as possible. And it seemed like you have been involved and you have been contributing and you have been active in it. While this all has been happening in Los Angeles, I know you guys are on curfews right now.
Mm-hmm.
What are your most favorite moments or favorite photos that you have captured that you may be able to share with us here for our audience as well?
Yeah, I have a handful, like I was saying, from the protests, just people standing up and sharing their voice. I give so much credit to a lot of these people who have the courage to stand up at these rallies and at these protests and speak from their heart. And, myself, I don't have the loudest voice, but I always say that my camera is my voice. And I like to be able to capture those moments of people standing up for their rights and human rights, and standing up for their city and for their families, and being able to capture that is means a lot to me. Obviously right now, that's where my mind is. I have some amazing wedding photos that I love to show and go on social media and use that as a platform. But, right now it's just the time we're in right now. It's very important to me. And a lot of those shots are my favorite.
Absolutely. Well, I'm glad that we can show some of those shots to our audience here.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you so much. Do you have a favorite moment throughout your career as a photographer, or a couple of favorite moments that you can share with us, and why? You're smiling already, so I think you're thinking of something. Would you please share with us?
Yeah, absolutely. When I first moved out here, I was still trying to find my niche as far as what kind of photography I wanted to do. I hadn't gotten into weddings quite yet. I was kind of just shooting whatever came to me. And I had an amazing opportunity to shoot for CNN Turkey. Actually, believe it or not, I had a friend who represented the country, and he had a press pass out here for the Los Angeles Lakers. And he invited me to be a photographer for him for some games. And fortunately enough, I was able to capture a lot of Kobe Bryant's games. And I have some amazing photos of him. Just that opportunity to be able to sit on the hardwood, listening to the game, feeling the game down from that perspective was amazing. And to answer your question, one of my favorite moments was actually his last game that he played, where he scored, I think it was 63 points last time at center, and I was there able to capture it. And it was just the emotion that was through my body was unbelievable. And I'm a huge sports fan. I grew up a huge sports fan, love basketball, had always been a Kobe fan. And, to be able to experience that is something that I probably will never experience again. It was amazing.
Oh, that's incredible. I hope that you will share with us some of those shots.
Yes, absolutely. I got some amazing shots.
I'm already getting goosebumps. You just talking about Kobe and the last game. What an honor to be this close. I mean, you might as well go in a field and start playing.
Yes, no,
so
totally.
Close.
Yes, and I was able to meet him as well after the game, and just stand-up guy. And my condolences go out to his family and everything like that would happen this year. But that means a lot to me, just being able to know that I was there at that time. So
lovely. Well, what an honor. I'm happy that you got to do that, and I'm happy that I'm a third party that directly to that and to that game by knowing you. That's incredible, Richard. What an opportunity. You never know when you pick up that phone what opportunity going to come, and that person from CNN Turkey, all of a sudden you're capturing Kobe's last game. Which brings me to, what sets you apart from other photographers? What is your trait that works for you and you in your career?
Well, as you mentioned it earlier when we first started talking, I am in Los Angeles, and there's a lot of competition out here. I mean, it's a lot of competition, but I've never shied away from competition. As I said before, I played sports growing up. I'm very competitive. I don't back down from it. In fact, I attack it. And, I feel like my personality really sets me aside. I feel like there are so many talented photographers here in Los Angeles. I mean, it's amazing. I love seeing inspiration from other photographers here in LA. But I feel like once I sit down with clients and I really get to know them and tell them about my family and my background and, where I come from, and we really connect on a deeper level, it goes a long way. And then when it comes to weddings, weddings are about the two people getting married, but it's also a family affair. It's an event where you have a lot of family members there, a lot of friends there. And it takes a photographer with a great personality to bring out the best in everybody there in order to get the best photograph. So, you could have a very talented photographer who might be a little bit more quiet, maybe a little bit more mute, and maybe they don't get that emotion that you would expect to see in a wedding. I like to just go all in and really, by the end of these weddings, sometimes the best compliment is when the mom and the dad of the bride and groom come over to me and give me a hug and say, "You're part of the family now." It's that means more to me than them even loving the photos. So, that goes a long way, and I feel like it's very important.
I can definitely see that. I mean, I have experienced that with you, my experience of working with you. Uh, just to give you feedback right out on air with global internet, your openness and your positive outlook. It just, and I wanted to work with you because of just that personality. I knew that when I'm around you, I'm going to feel, uplifted and positive, and it's going to be a fantastic experience. So that's what I picked up on immediately. And then when I worked with you, then your work, it was just, you knocked it out of park, and it was
I appreciate
incredible.
that. That means a lot. That means a lot coming from you. It really does.
Well, I got lucky to get to know you, so I want all my friends and fans to know you as well. And
Yeah.
as you said, there are many people, especially with our iPhones now, everybody is taking photos. So
Yep. Everybody's a photographer these days.
everybody's a photographer. The camera is doing like a lot of the work for you because
Yep.
they're just so advanced. But for someone who is really inspiring to become a photographer and be a professional photographer and pursue this, what are your tips? What do you think? How could you guide them?
I would say, again, kind of relating to, playing sports growing up is, being a good photographer, and my tips to them is practice. I mean, it sounds kind of crazy. It sounds kind of basic, but, just like an athlete, in order to be the best, in order to be successful, you have to practice. You have to get out there. You have to shoot every day. When my father gave me that camera and I moved out here 13 years ago from New York, I would just go down to the beach. I'd just bring my camera, and I was just learning by error. Just I'd make a mistake and I'd see what I did, and I would just keep shooting, and I would shoot people and just anything. I would put ads up on Craigslist, shoot for free. Whatever got me exposure, whatever helped me gain experience, was what sculpted me into the photographer that I am today. So I think that a lot of people sometimes, especially with a phone just does everything for you. You pick it up, you press a button, and there you go. I think if you really want to be a true photographer with a DSLR camera and really understand it, you have to get out there and you have to shoot, and, ask friends, ask family members, hey, can I shoot you? Can I do this? I mean, everybody's always willing to do that. And, don't be afraid to ask other photographers that you follow on Instagram, or other photographers that you like that live in your area. Ask them if they need help. I welcome it all the time. I have people that reach out to me and say, hey, do you mind on your next wedding or your next event? Can I come and maybe carry your bags for you, or just absorb, the energy you're giving off? And I love to hear that. I love to see that, because to me, that's a reflection of true passion. And that's what
Right.
I had when I was coming through, is I knew 100% what I wanted and what I wanted to be. And I knew I would do anything to get to that point. So for me, I was calling up photographers in LA and saying, hey, I'll carry your bag. I don't even care. Whatever you need. I just want to be in your presence. I just want to soak it up. I just want to learn. And I feel like that's really helped me to this day, become the photographer I am.
So inspiring, and you're so humble. Thank you
I
for
appreciate that.
genuinely sharing that. It's
Yeah, of
we all
course.
start from somewhere, and
Yes.
it's just good to hear. For people to hear that it's not, you don't automatically come to Los Angeles with a DSLR camera and then you getting thousands of dollars to shoot something.
Right.
You have to pay your dues. You have to,
Yeah,
like you said, carry someone back, just learn, just absorb, and just build up to that level. So thank you for sharing that. It's
of
heartwarming to
course.
hear the truth.
Of
What
course.
was the camera that your dad gave you? Was it the film camera or was it digital?
It's funny. It wasn't at that time. We have already become into the digital era.
Right.
It was a Canon 40D, which is it's an older camera. It wasn't horrible though. I mean, for the time, actually, it was a nice camera.
Yeah.
But I remember growing up, and my dad had turned our basement into a studio pretty much, and a dark room. And I remember him, just pretty much editing and exposing film down there, and just the smell of it and everything like that. So my dad had always taught me with a camera with film. It's kind of sad that it's becoming a lost art. It's a totally different vibe with
Oh,
photography
yes.
nowadays. It's a lot of people say it's easier, but the game has the bar has been raised. And, now even people with the digital cameras, they're doing amazing things with it. And,
Right.
even with Photoshop and stuff like that these days. So I guess you gotta stay up with the times. But
I
yeah,
hear you.
it was a good camera. It was a good camera.
Thank you for sharing about your camera. Was it 40D? Nikon?
40D, yeah,
40D?
Canon
Canon
40D, yeah,
40D. I
yeah.
remember when I was in high school, I went to a high school in Iran, and we had to take
Uh-huh.
a photography course as well. But just you talking about that, but it was film. And then we have to go to the dark room and just develop it, and the smell and all those things. It's just that it feels like you put in so much more effort. So every shot that I remember I took was important. It
Yes.
wasn't just like, let's just shoot away and it's not film. Let's just shoot and see one of them going to make it. So it was important. It was well thought out. And then go in dark room and develop it as a high schooler. And it was just a nice process. I very much enjoyed that. For people who are starting out and they
Mm-hmm.
want to, what is the good starter camera that you recommend that is economical and does a good job? What would you recommend for someone?
That's a good question. The Canon. I'm a Canon guy. There's nothing wrong with Nikon. Sony is making some amazing stuff right now. My dad was a Canon guy. He passed on a Canon camera to me. So that's why I shoot Canon. So I always like to plug Canon. But the Canon Rebels are inexpensive. The megapixels are a lot higher these days. They're great cameras to work with. A lot of people, a lot of friends, other people who are starting out, and there's a couple of them right now who I know. I recommend. The Canon Rebel is a good one. And if you're looking for a DSLR, a little bit more legit, even the Canon like 60D is a good camera. But I suggest to go down to your local camera store. Here in LA, we have Sammy's Camera. They have like 6 locations. Awesome
Right.
spot.
Mhm.
And a place like that, they do a great job of educating you. It's not like they just go in and try to sell you on stuff with them and just say, hey, I'm just getting started with photography. What do you recommend? They'll never try to upsell you on like a 5D Mark IV, which what I shoot with. They're gonna give you some good ideas, and they'll educate you on certain cameras to use and what might be helpful. So I suggest that, look around your local stores, or if you have a friend that's a photographer, maybe you ask them to go with you, just to kind of help out and, see what works best for you. But I think, just to get started, you don't have to spend, thousands of dollars to just start off. I mean, at first you're learning everything and you want to get in the groove and see if it's something that you even enjoy. So, sometimes it's a good idea to get something that is a little bit more inexpensive, but still does the job. And then once you know that this is something that you love and you have an eye for, then you invest the money into the big boys.
Well, thank you so much for sharing that. If anybody in our viewers would like to ask questions, can they contact you? Would you have time to guide them on their journey of becoming a professional photographers?
Of course, yeah. I don't know if you're going to list my contact information, but
Absolutely.
you're actually, yeah. Email, phone, Instagram.
Instagram.
Instagram is great. It's a great platform for what we do. You're a master at it. You're all over it. I love it. And I'm sure you passed your photography class, I'm assuming, when you were back in Iran, right?
What you said, Iran. Bravo to that.
Yeah.
That's right. I've heard all kinds of version of saying Iran,
Yeah.
Iran. Perfect, beautifully.
Iran.
Yes, it was a very fun class. I did pass, but one of my memories of that time is that actually I lost my camera. I left it in a
Oh,
cab, and I was so scared to go home that day.
yeah.
I was so scared. I just didn't
I
want to
think
go
that
home.
was a sign of telling you that you belonged in front of the camera and not behind the camera. That was it right there.
That's a good way. I wish my mother viewed it that way, but she did
Yeah.
not. That wasn't a sign of me being. That was a sign of me being on punishment for a very long time.
Yeah.
But I really appreciate you being on the show. Thank you so much for your time, and we will list all your contacts so people can reach out to you for their events and their photography, and if they want them to, for you to mentor them. Thank you so
Yeah.
much, Richard. Stay safe in LA.
Thank you for having me on, Saye. I appreciate it. Great to see you.
You too. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.